The league announced yesterday that SGA is this season's MVP. It's now the 7th straight year that an international player took home the NBA's top award. Huge congrats to Shai, much deserved. S.A., your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I'm happy for him. I'm proud of him. It's a beautiful thing to see him perform in person the way that I was able to do game one. Tuesday night right here in OKC. He was my vote for league MVP last year. Obviously, I have a vote. He was my vote last year. He was my vote this year. I think he's been sensational this year. I think OKC has been the #1 team. He's worthy of it all. He's a big-time player, and he deserves it, and I'm really, really happy for him. But you got to close. You got to close now. You understand? There have been MVPs in the past that ended up watching somebody else hoist the championship trophy. There's no excuse for the Oklahoma City Thunder to let that happen this year. They're the best team left, and they've been the best team all year long. And so because of that, you got to finish the deal. But he deserves this big time, and I'm really, really happy for him.
All right, the Pacers, well, they're used to comebacks this postseason. It started in the first round, Game 5, trailing by 7 in the final minute in OT. Indy went from down 118 to 111 to win a first-round series win against Giannis and the Bucks. On to the conference semis against the #1 seeded Cavs. Down 7, the Pacers scored the final 8 points with 47 seconds. Halliburton with the step-back 3 to steal Game 2. Indiana ended up winning in 5. And now back to last night, Game 1 of the conference final. Since '98, no team had ever won when trailing by 9 in the final minute until the Pacers managed to pull off and beat the Knicks 138 to 135 in OT. Caitlin Clark was hyped after last night's win, posting, "Pacers are the greatest comeback team that I have ever seen." Got the full crew here with us. Head coach of the Detroit Pistons, our friend J.B. Bickerstaff in the building. Great to have you here, J.B. Of course, my guy Windy. I filmed my second win for the second hour. Always good to see you as well. All right, Windy, we're starting with the fresh voices here. Tell me this. Can the Knicks recover after that Game 1 collapse of the ages?
I believe they can. I actually thought there was a lot encouraging about this game for the Knicks. Primarily, the way they got that big lead in the fourth quarter was they were awesome when Jalen Brunson had to go to the bench with the 5 fouls. That was a situation where I thought they were in big trouble. And that's a situation they haven't excelled at all the time in the playoffs. But they were able to extend the lead without Brunson on the court. I thought Karl Towns overall had an excellent game. I think he had like 35 and 13 or something like that. There were moments where Bridges was very good. So I thought overall they had a really good game until that last stretch of overtime. And I know that's a very big until. But I thought there were some promising signs here. And I never expected this to be a short series. I think this is going to go long. I do think when you blow a game that you have won in a series like this, it could end up costing you. Mm-hmm. But I saw a lot of positive signs that I think the Knicks can move forward with.
Yeah, Coach, I have a feeling that you didn't shed any tears last night, but I'm just curious if you think the Knicks can recover from that Game 1 collapse.
Yeah, this is a part of my petty summer, so no, I did not cry.
You're on your petty tour.
I'm on my petty time right now. But no, there was a lot of things that the Knicks did well. You take probably 36 minutes of that game, they did a good job and outplayed the Pacers. I thought they were tougher for most of the game, coming up with the dirty work plays, the gritty plays, offensive rebounds, winning the trenches, turning the Pacers over, creating opportunities for themselves. I thought they got what they wanted offensively. For them to score the amount of points that they scored, they were moving it, sharing it. Guys contributed at a high level. Again, it was just a 2.5-minute stretch where they failed themselves. So this series is not over. This is going to be a great series going forward because I know and trust in those guys. Like, they're winners at heart, and they're going to do what it takes to come out and make this a competitive series.
Stephen A.?
First of all, I usually like hearing from Caitlin Clark. That's the first time I heard her say something I didn't want to hear from her. You know what I mean? And it's like rubbing it in. It's like rubbing it in. But listen, the New York Knicks. I expected this to be a long series, but I'm not going to lie. This is a devastating loss, and I do firmly believe it's very, very difficult to come back from something like this. And if the New York Knicks lose this series, everybody and their grandmama is going to look at what happened last night. Up 14 with 2:40 left. The record with teams that are in that position was 994-0. Last night was the first time that's happened. A record of a team up 9 with under a minute left, 0 and 1,414, and now that happened for the first time. We're looking at pace of play for the Indiana Pacers, who had 11 different dudes average at least 15 minutes a game during the regular season. We saw that depth come into play because their legs looked a bit fresher when it counted most. We saw Neesmith hit 6 3-pointers in the fourth quarter, 3 in the last minute. We saw Nembhard having a backdoor layup so wide open you would have thought it was Broadway on Sunday morning when nobody's out. I mean, that's what we're talking about with the New York Knicks here. We're talking about a bench that gets really utilized in terms of productivity. They're the lowest in the NBA this year, 21.7 a game, averaging the least amount of minutes, and you're going up against a team coached by a champion in Rick Carlisle, who's obviously been here before, knows what he's doing, knows the importance of developing a bench so you can rely on reserves when it counts most. That's a lot. And when you consider all of those things, along with the fact that they're going to push pace, coach, what they're doing is saying, okay, when the game wanes, we believe our legs will be fresher. We believe we'll be more energized. We believe that we'll be in a better position from a fatigue perspective to win this out. We've seen nothing to derail that kind of thinking at this moment in time. So, yes, I still got the Knicks winning in 7, but I have far more trepidation now than I did 24 hours ago.
Coach, let me ask you this, because obviously that's a devastating and demoralizing loss. Stephen A. brought up the statistics. So as a coach, when you're talking to your team, you're either defeated, party's over, or you're galvanizing your team and you're coming back better and stronger. What are you saying to your team after that game?
Well, first thing is you have to acknowledge it, right? You have to understand what happened and you have to own it. If you don't acknowledge it, you don't own it, you'll carry it over into game 2. So you have the discussion of, look, we were in this position. These are the mistakes or things that we didn't do in order to close out the game. And now we make adjustments to move forward. But the most important piece of this, and sometimes it goes unnoticed, is the emotional and the mental drain or the hangover that it can have going into game 2. Again, these guys have been through a ton. Tibbs is a great coach and a great leader, so I don't expect that to happen. But you have to get over that first, and then you can move on to your adjustments.
We're hearing the word fatigue a lot, and Jay Will talked about it more in terms of the mentally, emotionally. Wendy?
Stephen A. keeps referencing this number, 0 and 900, whatever. There's another number out there, 0 and 100, and 1,400. The truth is, there is no history for what the Pacers have done this postseason. They've 3 times been down 3 possessions in the final minute of a game, and 3 times won it. It's never happened in the history of the sport. I would suspect it's never happened on the high school level. But 3 possessions down 3 times. So I think that has to inform you about how you go forward as a team. Once is a fluke, twice is a coincidence, 3 times is a trend. What the Knicks have to realize is that 4 times can't be a standard. So they have now lost their home court advantage. That's not the end of the world. They have been spectacular on the road in the postseason. They have 5 road wins. They have a bunch of close victories. But they now have learned a painful lesson about how you have to manage the Indiana Pacers. There is no such thing as a safe lead. It's what Caitlin Clark is correct. She is right in saying she's never seen a comeback team like this. I've never seen one. I don't think it's possible. You can search all the record books you want. To have a 3-possession lead in the last minute and come back, just absolutely insane. And the way this went down was a series of events. It wasn't just the Pacers, it was also the Knicks. So you also have to realize, if you're the Knicks, the Pacers are not a team that makes a lot of mistakes. Despite playing very fast, they take care of the ball. And they never quit on you. So the Knicks have to take the information that they got from this game and apply it going forward. And I do think one positive is that Jalen Brunson didn't play 50 minutes in this game. He had the foul trouble, and so he's coming back tomorrow night. Yes, I think the Pacers have a depth advantage, but Brunson has to take the advantage of not having played as many minutes, and he's got to pick up some of his teammates from not having played as many minutes last night.
Stephen A., and I'm not being a jerk in asking you this, to Wendy's point, and I feel like no one breaks it down better in terms of what they've done in each series. Do you feel like the Pacers are the team of destiny right now?
No, I don't. Not when I'm sitting here in Oklahoma City and I'm seeing what I'm seeing from these brothers. I'm not going to go that far. But I do think that they're like a bunch of cardiac kids that if one would argue they're overachieving, I wouldn't. I don't believe that the Pacers have that quote-unquote bona fide superstar. But I think they have an abundance of really, really good players who know how to play together. They kept the team together, brought them back for this run. They're exceptionally well coached. They push the pace. They defend when necessary. Like Wendy said, they do protect the basketball, and they can shoot. Now, the New York Knicks gave up close to 50% of wide-open threes in the series against the Celtics. Last night, that had dipped to 38% for the Indiana Pacers. But unlike the Boston Celtics, I don't believe that the Indiana Pacers are going to miss an abundance of wide-open threes. Not with Nesmith and Nembhard and what we saw last night. These brothers can put the ball in the hole. I said that coming into the series, which means that Tom Thibodeau, even though we look at the New York Knicks and know that their defense isn't what it was in years past, he better find a way to turn them into an elite defense and how they looked in Game 6 at Madison Square Garden last Friday or so, because that defense that showed up against the Boston Celtics in the closeout game is going to need to be the defense that shows up throughout this series in order for the New York Knicks to get to the NBA Finals for the first time since 1999. It's going to require that. You cannot let Indiana score as prolific as they've been scoring.
NBA on the ESPN.